Hello and welcome to the new lesson on Azure Technical Skills. Previously, in one of our lessons, we discussed that all of our resources in cloud must reside in some network, Azure Virtual Network so-called. And then we can also have subnet or multiple subnets within our virtual network, as we saw in one of our lessons on virtual networks. And within our subnets may reside our cloud resources. Okay, it could be a virtual machine, it could be a storage account. Now, the reason why we have such a layered model is that we do not want to expose our cloud resources to everyone on the internet, okay? As doing so will make our resources vulnerable to cyber attacks and threats. Hence, we ensure that certain types of incoming and outgoing traffic is allowed to and from our network, or may be blocked, based upon the source and destination IPs, ports, or protocols. For example, if we want a particular subnet to deny all the incoming traffic for web for a specific network, in that case we would deny port number 80 from that source network. For this purpose we have network security groups, in which we define inbound and outbound rules for network, in short NSGs. We can attach an NSG to a subnet or to a network card of the resources residing inside a subnet. Also keep in mind that for inbound traffic, the NSG attached to the subnet is evaluated first, and the NSG at the individual resources are evaluated later. This means that if I have traffic for the port number 80 open at a subnet level NSG, but blocked at virtual machine NSG, or blocked at within the Windows built-in firewall, the ultimate result of such communication would be a failure. So we have to consider these important steps before we configure NSGs. In order to understand this concept better, I will present a practical demonstration in which our objective is to establish a unidirectional communication from subnet 1 to subnet 2, which I have already created, and block all the traffic from subnet 2 to subnet 1. So let's see how it is done. So once again, I'm logged into my Azure portal, and in order to configure our network security groups, I'll use the search box as usual, and I will type in network security group. Okay, I don't even need to type the full name. And I will choose this one. Do not use the classical one, choose this one, okay? And in here I can see all of my previously configured network security groups, okay? So if you want to add a new one, you can just click on this add button and then select the subscription and then select the resource group and then name of your network security group and then the region, okay? So I will not create it, because once you create it, it will be visible within this list, okay? So as I've configured some of them already, so let's go to one of these network security groups and see what type of configuration do we have in it. So I will select this one. Okay, so in here we can see some of the main configurations that we are concerned with is inbound security rules and outbound security rules, okay? So the inbound security rules basically they define the network rule, the traffic rules for the incoming traffic to a subnet or to a virtual machine or any other cloud resource, okay? And similarly, the outbound security rules define the traffic rules for the traffic going outside the network, okay? So if we want to add an inbound security rule, all we have to do is to click on this section which says inbound security rules. And then in here we can add new security rules. So for example, if I want to add a new security rule, inbound security rule, I just click on this add button and I'm presented with this blade, okay? So basically what the source tab is about is either we can block the traffic or deny or allow a traffic based upon IP address or a service tag or any application security group, okay? So let's say we choose IP address, okay? So in this case, I am either allowing or denying the CIDR block of this particular range. So let's say I want to deny or allow the CIDR block of 192.168.0.0/25. Okay. And then the source port range, which means that what will be the source port from within this network that you want to block. The static sign means that all the ports will be either allowed or denied depending upon this option, okay? And then same is the case for destination. What destination do you actually want to set for this inbound security rule? Now again, it can be an IP address, it can be a virtual network or any application security group. And then the service can be either HTTP or SSH or MySQL, whatever, depending upon the requirement. And then the destination port on which you want to block the particular traffic, okay? And then in this section you can select the protocol, whether you want to block the TCP or UDP or ICMP, which is basically the ping. Either you want to allow these deny these protocols, or you want to select all of them, okay? And then this priority is a number, so basically this number has to be the lower the number, the higher will be the priority, okay? And then in here you can give the name of the security rule, and then you have to provide some it's not mandatory, but it's good to provide some description, some meaningful description for the security rules, okay? Similarly, if you want to add if you want to define security rules for outbound traffic, you can click on this option which says outbound security rules, and then click the add button, and here you will be presented with the same blade as you saw in the inbound security rules, okay? So these are the same set of parameters. Now I created this security group in order to achieve what is the actual agenda of this demonstration. So the actual objective of this demonstration is to have two subnets and have two virtual machines in each of the subnet. And then I want the virtual machine in subnet 1 to be able to communicate with the virtual machine in subnet 2, but the opposite should not be allowed, okay? So let me show you the configuration that I have set up for this network security group. So if I go to my inbound security rules, you can see on the top, you can see this this security rule that I've set up. So if I click on it and I try to look at the configuration of this, I can see that I have selected the source to be an IP address, okay? And then the source IP address is actually a CIDR block of the subnet 2. This subnet 2 was actually what we created in our lab on virtual networks, okay? And then the source port ranges that I want to block, because I've selected this option, deny. So the source port ranges that I want to block are all, I've selected all of them. The static signs represent all. And then the destination IP address. In this I have configured the CIDR block of the subnet 1, if you remember, and I will show you in a while that this is the CIDR block of subnet 1 and this is the CIDR block of subnet 2. And then I want to deny every protocol, whether it is TCP or UDP or ICMP, and then I have selected the deny option, and then I have set the lowest priority, which is the highest number. And the description I have not given any, but it is self-explanatory, okay? So I will show you how we can attach this network security group to our subnet. Now before I proceed, I just want to quickly show you the situation of our virtual network that we created previously. So I will go to my virtual networks and then select VNet1 and then go to the subnet section. And in here you will be able to see that I have two subnets, subnet 1 and subnet 2. Now if you look at the CIDR block of subnet 2 and then compare it with the inbound security rule for the deny statement, you can see that in the source IP address I have configured the CIDR block of subnet 2, which is 0.128, 0.128, okay? And then the destination CIDR block is the CIDR block of subnet 1, which is 0.0, okay? In here you can also see that it's 0.0 for subnet 1. So basically, once again, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to block the communication from this source CIDR block towards this source CIDR block. So that's why the subnet 2 is in the CIDR block of subnet 2 is in source IP addresses, and the CIDR block of subnet 1 is in the destination IP addresses, okay? Before we go ahead, I want you to note that as for now, no security group has been attached to any of the subnet, okay? As you can see in the security group tab of the subnets, you can see that the security group tab is empty, okay, which means that no NSG has been added to any of the subnet yet. So before the network security group has been added, what we can do is we can log into both of our virtual machines and try to ping every one of them, okay, and see if the communication happens or not. So I'm logged into my virtual machine 1. This is my virtual machine 1. and then 192.168.0.132, which is basically the private IP address of virtual machine 2. Okay, so if you want to verify, you can verify it from here, 0.132, and this virtual machine is in subnet 2. Okay, so I'll go back to my virtual machine 1 and then try to ping virtual machine 2 in subnet 2, and you can see the communication is successful. Now I can try the same from virtual machine 2. I will go to my virtual machine 2, and then 0.4 is the IP address of virtual machine 1 in subnet 1, okay, which is 192.168.0.4. so that is correct. So I can press enter, and up to this point I can see that the communication is successful because no security group has been attached to any of the subnet. Okay, so now it's time to finally see our network security group in action. So what I want to do is I want to go to the subnet 1 and then attach the security group to this subnet 1. Okay, now you might be thinking why I have not attached this security group to subnet 2, because for subnet 2 the security rule has to be outbound. Okay, what I want is I want to block the communication from subnet 2 to subnet 1. So for subnet 1 it has to be an inbound security rule. Okay, if I want to attach it with subnet 2, that would not work, because for subnet 2 it has to be an outbound rule. Okay, so that is the reason I'm attaching this network security group to subnet 1. So once I attach this and I click save, it will take a while. Okay, so as you can see in the security group tab, we can see that the network security group is there. Okay, so once again I'll go back to my virtual machine 1 and try to ping the virtual machine 2 in subnet 2. Okay, let's see what happens. So as you can see, still we are getting the reply, which is the way it should be, because I have not added any rule that denies the traffic from subnet 1 to subnet 2. But it should not be the case when I do the opposite. Okay, so if I try to ping from virtual machine 2 to virtual machine 1, it should block the traffic. Okay, so moment of truth, and as we can see, I'm getting requests timed out because my traffic is not allowed to subnet 1, because virtual machine 2 is in subnet 2 and virtual machine 1 is in subnet 1. In the security group I have defined the rule that no traffic from subnet 2 to subnet 1 should be allowed. So that is the reason why I'm getting this message request timed out. Okay, so that's how easy it is to configure network security groups and then attach them to subnet 1 or subnet 2. Now we can also attach network security groups with individual resources. It could be a virtual machine, it could be a storage account. Okay, but when you create a virtual machine, and we will see in the upcoming lectures when we go to the compute section, that we do not actually need to configure a standalone security group for virtual machine, because at the time of creation of virtual machine the security group is created. Okay, but for subnet, this is the way we attach the network security groups. We create the network security groups individually, and then later on, depending upon the requirement, we attach them to our subnets. Okay, so that's it on network security groups, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.